in today's session. So please have your notebooks ready, have your minds ready, your heart ready, so that we can learn more about this important subject of home education in Scotland.
Hi, as I said, my name's Emma, and I am home educating. I've home educated for 13 years, and I have 7 children ranging from 17, nearly 18. She graduated from homeschooling this year and has just started at Heriot-Watt University. And my youngest, who's actually in education, is 5. I've got a 3-year-old and the little one over there who's 4 weeks old tomorrow. How we're going to do this seminar is I'll do a kind of brief overview of the topic of home education, and then we're going to look at how to create community as home educators. And we've got Liz here and Miriam who will come up and share about how to establish co-ops as a home educating community. Can I just ask, I know a number of you here already because you are my friends and homeschool buddies. Who is anyone else in this room currently home educating? So we've got a few people here that are home educating. Are some of you interested in home educating in the future? Yep. Brilliant. So that gives me an idea of who I'm speaking to and what your needs are. So as I said, we started home educating when my daughter, my 17-year-old, she was 4.5. And it was something that had been a real burden for my husband and I before she was even born. Both of us just could not see putting our children into the state school system. And we actually had in our church at the time a family who were already home educating. They're now at the end of their journey. Their youngest son is the only one left at home still. At least their daughter's at home still too. They're the only, she's only got one still doing school with. So I was aware about it, I'd read about it, and I thought, this is what I want to do. But I think when you want to start something that is really countercultural, it can be a huge, huge step. You think, what are my family going to say? What are my friends going to say? What's society going to say? It's a huge step to actually do. And I think the hardest thing was actually making that we're going to do this, we're going to start this and announce that this is who we are. And my family didn't initially understand. My mum might not have spoken to me for about a week. But here we are, and my mum's now fully on board, and particularly when my now 15-year-old son came on board, and he was a lively lad, shall we say. She was more won over. I thought, what would that laddie do in the school? So yeah, that's where we came in. The starting can be the hardest, and knowing where to start can be massively difficult. If you put into Google homeschooling resources, you will get back 1 billion different searches coming back at you. That can be and it can feel completely and utterly overwhelming. Where do I start with this? What curriculum do I use? How do I teach my 5-year-old reading? These things that you don't know. You're like, how can I do this? Can I actually do this? I remember sitting with my daughter, my 4.5-year-old daughter, doing our first ever phonics lesson and doing the first letters, and actually being terrified that I was going to fail her and I was going to end up with this little girl who couldn't read a single word. And it was just such the weight of responsibility that I felt as a mother for my daughter's entire future was almost paralysing. And I think that can be something that can be a huge barrier for us to even begin that whole kind of, am I equipped to do this? And you totally are equipped to do that. I think one of the things for me that has been a rock has been being able to hook into a home ed community that is already established, and seeing these other people with these kids are actually really lovely kids. And their parents have taught them how to read and how to do maths. We're here. Lynn is sat there. Hi, Lynn. Wave to everyone. Lynn was leading the local Edinburgh homeschool group when I started, and I took it over when she stepped back. And Lynn made me feel so welcome. And seeing her kids who were teenagers and the wonderful things they were doing, and then other parents with kids who were closer, a wee bit older than mine, and what they were doing was a massive source of encouragement to me, and being able to meet up regularly and establish friendships, because I didn't want my kids to be friendless and have no company outside the home. So that has been a massive part of our journey. And also from that, learning from other people that are ahead of me how to go about this, how to learn, just simple things. What do you use to teach your kids to read? It's that simple question. That it has been something I've been able to go to other people and say, what have you used? What curriculum do you use? What books do you use? And changing it and finding better things. But the beginning and not being overwhelmed is something that I think can stop a lot of us even beginning. Can I ask some of you that haven't started yet, if you have any questions, what would you want to ask? You've come here today to learn about home education, and what do you want to get out of this seminar?
I think for me, knowing how to link into community, who's near to us, who's already doing it in our area maybe, and especially curriculum, how to go about that would be important.
Anything different?
And that's for secondary school.
For secondary school, right. Yes.
So I work at Manifields Christian School, and we're hoping to move into secondary. We're at PS2 at the moment. And I'm helping to explore how could we connect with home groups to provide a service if they needed it. For maybe chemistry or maths or English or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that connecting, and also if it was to happen, how would it work? How would it best work with the home? Is there a need first, and how would it best work?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
I think for a lot of home educators get to high school and put their kids into school because they see the educational needs change. Being able to teach primary school maths is a whole lot different from teaching high school maths, for example, or science, or even if science and maths is your thing, teaching high school English. It kind of steps up a gear, and it can be quite scary to be thinking I need to get my kids through exams and have them be able to walk out of my home when they're 17 or 18 and get a job or go to college or whatever and not be on the dole for the rest of their life. There are resources out there, and there's a lot of people creating resources. This is something I've thought about an awful lot, particularly the whole idea of how to resource the home ed community for high school so that more home educators can keep their kids at home, because a lot of them, they send their kids to school not wanting to send their kids to school. They do it out of the necessity, out of feeling ill-equipped. And I wonder if there is room to have a kind of stepping stone between where we are now and the idea of a Christian high school. And with the knowledge that a Christian high school is going to be in one location, and there's people throughout the whole of Scotland in the same position and would be unable to physically send their kids to a high school because of the logistics. I wonder if there's a lot of different places, like there's places that you can do sciences online. We can do maths courses online, we can do English courses online, and maybe bringing them under the umbrella of some kind of online framework where our high schoolers can get the resources in which to learn, and then linking that in with co-op models or existing Christian primaries that can then expand it into high school. That is something I wonder if there is room to go into doing. For high school, one of the problems is when you get to exams, accessing the Scottish exam system is very, very difficult and almost kind of impossible. And so most of us use the English system. So my daughter did IGCSEs, my next son down, he is currently working through IGCSEs, and my daughter then did A-levels, and we managed to do a couple of hires. A problem right now is that exam centres that were online pre-COVID are no longer online. We're hoping that in the next year that more of them a lot of private schools used to let us sit exams in them, and with COVID they shut their doors and have not reopened them yet, which has made things difficult. An exam centre in Edinburgh, which we had been using, went out of business this January, and many of us had to scramble to get exams. We ended up having to travel to Durham for exams this year, which was interesting and expensive. So there's those aspects are problems that home educators are facing and are trying to find answers for. The home ed co-ops is a great place where we can help with secondary school. What time is it just now? So I'm part of a co-op that meets in Falkirk, and we pull in people from Edinburgh area, Glasgow area, Fife area, and it was established with Agnes up the back, who can wave at us all, and Shannon, who's just left the room with my crying baby. They both set up, because Shannon's from the States, Agnes lived in Canada for a number of years and saw the co-op model at work in Canada and America, and how this was such a blessing to them as home educators, where they would come together regularly and do classes that are hard to do at home, or where the skill set of the parent was lacking. Do not ask me to teach your child art. You'll get a stick man. But there's lovely ladies that go to the co-op who are wonderful at art and can teach my children how to do art, and that's, I'm like, yes. Some parents will be like, don't ask me to do science. I'm like, send them to me. I'll do it. I love science. This is my thing. I will do science with your kids and have great joy in doing it. So this is kind of things we've done at the co-op, where we've set up classes where this term we'll do this class, and this mum will do it because she can do first aid, or I'll do science with your kids because I can do science. This mum will do an art class. This mum will do some sport. We've had Ceilidh dancing classes, and just lots of different book clubs where teenagers can sit down and discuss the ideas of a good book, which you can do at home, but your discussion might not be very rich, because your teenager might know exactly, you might be on the same page as your teenager on the discussion, and you have a wee chat and it's just a bit rubbish. It's not the same as sitting around with 20 other teenagers and exchanging ideas that might be different, and where they might come with something that you have never thought about. The goal with the book club is picking the book, otherwise you're going to have 20 teenagers that won't talk. It's happened in book club discussions because they're not always chatty. The Hobbit was the best book club I've ever led, because we had some amazing discussions with the young people, because they were passionate about the book. So the co-op that we've set up, Agnes and Shannon set it up with the vision for teenagers, because we found, and it's something I found as a home educator, looking as my kids were younger and looking as the kids got older and older, they kind of fell away from, even if they were still being home educated, they stopped coming to stuff because there was fewer teenagers. A lot of the educational trips you would go on, they would be aimed at younger kids. Lynn will testify to this, because this is where her kids kind of lived it. There wasn't many teenagers around, and they didn't come to things. So setting something up for the teenagers has been brilliant, because that's where they've then pulled on their relationships. Their main friendships have come from the co-op setting, and they want to come because they know they've got kids their own age where they can hang out with, and the classes are geared towards their age. The thing with having teenagers, though, in the homeschool world, we all have lots of children. So you might have a 15 and 14-year-old, but you've probably got siblings who are like babies and toddlers and 5 and 6. So our co-op has classes for secondary school age, but it also has primary age classes and a creche. So we will take kids from 4 weeks old through to 18. But the stipulation to join our co-op would be you would have to have somebody who is secondary school aged to be able to join. And we also have a statement of faith because it's a Christian co-op, and we want to keep that ethos of Christian values. And within that, the mums also get fellowship with one another and build those friendships and relationships up. I'm going to ask, so Liz and Miriam have also got co-ops that they have established in Glasgow. You're both in Glasgow, aren't you? Yeah, in Glasgow, and they are slightly different to the Falkirk one. So Liz, would you like to come up and share?
Yeah. Hi everyone, so I'm Liz and I'm more of an accidental home educator. I feel like a little bit of an imposter because I've only been home educating for 2.5 years. And that came about because when I became Christian, when my eldest daughter was 3 years old, she's 14 and a half now, so she was 3, myself and my husband had a radical life change, became Christian and said we are not putting our daughter into state school to turn out like us. Basically, so very strongly convicted Christian education, but I'm going to outsource it to people that are better Christians than me. However, I very quickly bumped into home educators and was like, oh, this is a thing, this is wonderful, this is great. Not for me, you're very brave, but I seemed to know lots of people who had made that choice, but I was quite happy with the Christian school, which Miriam had helped set up, Sunrise Christian School. That's where my daughter went for primary school. I have experience actually of 5 different Christian schools. So my daughter went to Hamilton College for her first year of life as a school child. Sunrise. We then moved to England and to the King's School, Whitney, so I just met Steve B. Goo downstairs, remember me? And then she went to Maranatha School, came back to what was now Melville Knox Christian School. So I am very experienced in Christian schools, and all the time thinking by the time she's secondary, there'll be a secondary school, but there wasn't. So it looks like I'm home educating then. Well, let's build a co-op. Because there were a few parents in the same position, coming from Melville Knox and a couple of other random stray parents that weren't from Melville Knox. So we got together and said, right, no co-op, let's make one. And this was for the people that didn't plan to home educate. We wanted a Christian school, but the next best thing we could do was a co-op that would run, we imagined, 3 days a week. And cover all the subjects, but not maths and English, because then it's not an illegal school, but we've got our children in as close as possible to a school. So very different model from Raising Arrows, which is once a fortnight and doesn't even try to be replacing a school. But we thought, no, we'll set this up and it will be the best thing, and we've only got to home educate for 2 days. We soon found out the problem was we didn't have enough teachers for 3 days. We, as new home educators, we weren't confident. One of us was like, well, I'll do this or this. And anyway, we did 1 day a week and it was brilliant. We went up to 2 days a week and it was brilliant, but it started to get hard because we didn't have enough people. If someone was off, the teachers were getting spread a bit thin. We dropped that to 1 day a week. We decided to do it well rather than try to do all these days. And actually, with the experience, all of us new home educators, we found we were quite getting into the groove of home educating. We had our own stuff we were doing at home, and 2 days was getting a bit too much for some of us. So our views, just through a couple of years' experience, some of our views really changed of what we were capable of, what worked, what didn't work. And I will tell you, when you start home educating, it is a learning curve. I've got a spaghetti brain, and when I do something, it does all of this. So what Emma mentioned about there's lots of resources, I did the mistake that everybody makes, but probably more so, of buying everything and then ending up with shelves and shelves and shelves of different curriculum that I had just seen that was going cheap, so I'll save it for 2 years' time. And this one, and my little one, because now I've got the 14-year-old and I've got a 4 and a 5-year-old too. So, when they're older, and now I will just urge you, don't do it. Don't buy everything. Don't stockpile. Don't assume that a resource you really like, your children will like, because they might hate it. I thought I had all planned out what my daughter was going to do when she was 12 and I started with her, and she hated it. So I spent the first year trying all these different things before ending up with a total mix match of different styles of curriculum for almost every subject she did. And then you'll find people say, what style of home educating do you do? Are you Charlotte Mason? Are you classical? And I don't even know what these things are. But so just know there are different philosophies of education. And you are probably one or the other without even really knowing what you are. But your child might be a different one. So you need to find out what is right for your child. And just don't plan too far ahead. I would say hold your plans loosely. Just buy what you need for right now. Because my 14-year-old, now this is where I'm even more of an imposter, my 14-year-old decided she wanted to go to school this term. And that was a roller coaster, because unlike most people who put their children in school at 14 because they feel they need to for exams or they can't cope, I had it all planned. I had the whole next 4 years planned. I was perfectly confident. I was going to do the US SAT, not SAT, what is it? No, the high school diploma. So I knew I was going to do the high school diploma. I was perfectly confident to do it. I thought it was going to give her a great education. But unfortunately, my daughter is a very sociable learner. Co-op 1 day a week and once a fortnight was not enough for her. There were mental health issues that came into play, and I did not like having the only option was to put her in the school system, which I am aggrieved. That was the only option I had. Which is why I'm fighting for more Christian secondaries. All children are different, and plans sometimes change. So my eldest has now gone into state school, but she's had, I believe, with the co-ops, with the community, a great foundation. She's doing great, she's strong, she's feisty. So just wanted to, I would feel like a fraud if I didn't admit she'd gone into the state school system. But with my young little ones right from the start. And as Emma said, how do I teach them to read? I didn't have to do that with my eldest. She was in school. My little boy, who refuses to even repeat after me a letter sound, just read Gnosticism off a Christian Institute leaflet this morning. He was listening. Who knew? So I'm really excited about the journey ahead. But it is, as Emma said, only through community. Every time I say, I can't do this, these 2 little ones are too hard, I think I've got 4 friends with 8 children that have homeschooled them all. How can I say how can I do it with all these little children when I've probably got the fewest number of children? But it's the support, it's knowing other people do it. I've met 2 other young home educating mums, Christian, close to me this week, and they didn't know any other home educators, but they've decided to do it. And I think that's awesome, because for me, it was seeing the people that have gone before me. If they can do it, I can do it. And it's the community, because it becomes a lifestyle. It's more than just educating. It literally becomes a lifestyle. All my friends are my homeschool buddies, and we support each other. We encourage each other. We help each other when we feel like we're the only ones failing, that have flipped out or shouted at our kids or something like that. And I'm a terrible person. If my child was in school, she wouldn't have been shouted at. Okay, it's okay, these things happen, and we repair and we learn, and it's an amazing thing. But it is, again, I echo what Emma says, the weight of responsibility for these children can be overwhelming, and it certainly teaches us reliance on God, because we can't do it in our own strength. We just have to say, my prayer every morning, please, Lord, don't let me flip out on my children today. Give me strength to cope with whatever they throw at me, and we just need to rely on him. And well, it really teaches us to rely on him and trust, because we have to trust our children will be okay. Our children will not turn out weird. Well, mine are just weird anyway, but they won't turn out weirder because of it. In fact, I don't think that home educated children are weird at all. And this is one of the things that really convicted me. The first time I walked into a home ed meetup and I saw these children that were sociable, they were outgoing. There was big ones speaking to little ones. They weren't in a pack of children just one age that wouldn't speak to anyone else. The children would introduce themselves to adults and inquisitive, and they wanted to join in with things. They wanted to have fun. They weren't jaded. And I said, I want my children to be like that. So I've never understood this argument about your children will be weird and antisocial. In my experience, home educated children are the most sociable, because they just don't have this peer pressure of, I don't know if you're going to affect my social status. They're free from that. Even my eldest, and I was saying this to somebody earlier, even though she says it didn't work for her, she still says home education is good. And if she'd have had siblings maybe close to her age, or more people, because there's an 8-year age gap between my big one and my next one, even she said it is good. I just needed to be around people more. And that is where the question that the gentleman asked about how a secondary could maybe help. If there had have been somewhere with classes that she could have gone to a couple of times a week, she hated online stuff, hated it. Might have made a difference, yes, that would have helped. I think it would be wonderful if there was a centre that was open to having home educators come along to do lessons. I'm supposed to be talking about my co-op. Really sorry, I forgot about that. So the co-op in Glasgow, we're now 1 day a week, and we do have sort of timetabled lessons, and it's aimed at the sort of S1 upwards. We do find there's the trailing off at 14 as people start going different routes to exams. It isn't necessarily they've gone to school or college, but you start to concentrate on what they actually need to do, and your timetable at home can get quite full. But that is our co-op in Glasgow, in Parkhead, where operates out of a church there, and it's a lovely little family where we have fellowship and we educate the children, and they do amazing things. We've done art, we've done drama, we've done debate, biblical languages, poetry, what else have we done? Mirroring French. We've done all kinds of things, and that has ticked the box that we don't have to do that one at home, because they did all their chemistry. They did, we had one lady doing chemistry at beginner GCSE level, and it's like, they've done chemistry, don't need to do that. I was doing history for a while, that's the kid, they don't have to do history at home. It eased, but we bore each other's burdens. That's how I would say, we bore each other's burdens, and it was just a lovely community for our children, and it's given them, I think, happy memories, a time of freedom and joy, and just a great foundation really for whatever they then go on to do. If anybody is interested about it, just grab hold of me and I can let you know details of that. That's in Parkhead in Glasgow, and we are hoping to extend into primary provision as well, if we have enough parents willing to teach. So I'll let Miriam come and talk about EPIC co-op.
Well, if I just take 2 minutes, I'm actually going to get David to talk about EPIC, but just to explain how this goes, you were asking, I think it was Stephen, you were asking about a solution. So I'm Miriam Murphy. I'm one of the original 3 ladies who prayed for Melda Knox to start Sunrise First Melda Knox. And it is in my heart to make sure that we have education, full-time education available in Glasgow, but also everywhere in Scotland, for Christian education for everybody who wants it, and it's that it can be affordable for everybody who wants it, whether it is supporting homeschoolers or having a full-time solution. So I think Emma and Liz were talking about how to have a solution in the meanwhile when we don't have enough secondary schools, and there's a secondary school called that we started with Liz. And this August we started EPIC education in Rutherglen, also in Glasgow area. And solution, just to give you the idea why we started 2, is so that because the Unity Co-op is doing everything but English and maths, so the EPIC goes for the maths and English. English and math. So the idea is that these two make a puzzle, so any homeschoolers can put their secondary school kids into both co-ops, and it should cover the whole curriculum without us being blamed for running a school with no registration. And I want to offer this as an opportunity and as a solution for everywhere where they want to start secondary schools. Start 2 co-ops, one for English and maths, one for the other subjects, get people together. It is possible. I believe this comes from the Lord himself, meaning he has guided us to this solution until we can register as a school. So David is going to talk about Epic Education just a few minutes. I know that we're running out of time. That started in August and what we do there.
Good afternoon. I'm not Miriam. I was a bit worried about that. I'd walk up to the front, you're expecting Miriam, and perhaps you would worry that some of that transgender ideology that we've been warning everyone about had somehow crept into the homeschool seminar. But no, do yourself no harm. I'm David. My name is David Richardson. My wife's name is Jane. 33 years ago, we married and took Genesis 1 verse 28 quite literally. Go forth and multiply. And we ended up with 7 children. I still to this day don't know what was happening. I would wake up and another one was lying there. But I should have been spoken to. But I'm glad it all happened, and it is happening. We took a life-changing decision very early on in our marriage when we decided to homeschool our cherubs using a well-known Christian curriculum. This has been one of the greatest blessings in our Christian lives. I can honestly say there's 2 or 3 blessings that spring to mind. One, of course, being my wife, another being her father-in-law, who became my pastor for many years and very much formed the Christian I am today. But certainly in that cluster of 3 is this decision. Neither of us are trained teachers, as Liz mentioned. It is remarkable what God can do with a little. Unbelievable, in fact. But with the ACE curriculum, there are other curriculums available. We took them from the age of 5 through to 16, and all have very successful careers. In fact, nearly all of them have much better careers than I have ever had, remarkably. They have left all my career achievements far behind, and they're barely 30 plus years old. Our youngest is now 20 years old, but with 2 foster children, 7 grandchildren currently, the rumours of an 8th, and 12 child-minding children, you could say that we're still keeping our hand in. We also both have a burden to encourage and inspire other families to also exercise their God and state-given right to educate their own children, although we are only too well aware that it is by no means a straightforward decision, and there can be many challenges along the way. To this end, my wife had a burden to one day begin EPIC education, which stands for Encouraging Parents in Christian Education. Although this impression was given her many years ago, she knew that, like Habakkuk, the vision was for an appointed time. And remarkably, we believe that time has come. We pastor a small church in Rutherglen, Glasgow, and have in Miriam a dear friend of many years who shares a similar vision for Christian education in Scotland. On a Monday and a Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m, we invite any parents who currently homeschool to come to our church to be encouraged in Christian education. I commence the day with some worship, followed by the reading of the Bible and prayer. Then the children settle down to their learning routines. the fellowship for the parents, the socialization for the children, the spiritual atmosphere, the very safe environment, all add up to 2 days very conducive to successful learning, and most important of all, a God-glorifying education. Our dream is to see the small offer we make to secondary school children be extended into a much bigger premises, and also offer primary school encouragement and much more. The task is, though, huge. The evil one is running amok in our land with the help of governments and multiple vain philosophies. But sad, perhaps most of all, also the inaction of the Christian church. Like the old woman who attacked the incoming Yankee army with her brush and was told by the victorious general that her efforts were pointless and powerless, her reply was, true enough, but when the history books are written, they'll know whose side I was on. Likewise, we must also take a stand, no matter how small and seemingly insignificant, because we have the much greater consolation of knowing, if God be for us, who can be against us? Thank you for listening. Thank you.
We've only got 1 minute left. Is there anyone got any questions they would like to ask? Gentleman there.
I'll defer.
Okay, lady.
How do I don't know any home educators where I am, so how do I find a co-op?
I was just
Or
about to
others.
say tell you this. So, if you want more information about hooking into the home ed community, give me your details. I'm in the committee for the Edinburgh Home Ed group. Oh, yes, please. Give Shannon your name and number, please.
Oh, can I just say I'm the regional contact for the Christian Home Education Support Service for Glasgow. There is an organisation called CHESS, Christian Home Education Support Service, which is nationwide.
Is it called CHESS?
Yeah.
Oh, the chess, yes, that
Yeah,
chess.
that's
There's 2 chesses, sorry.
Yeah, that's the whole of the UK, and I've recently become the regional contact. So that's, if you've joined that organisation, you would get forwarded to me, but you can get forwarded to me free of charge.
So, if you put your name, give Shannon your details, and Liz can get you hooked up to that chess. The Edinburgh Home Ed group is also called Chess. They stole it from us. We were Chess first. They used to be called Home Service. So ours is the Christian Home Educators for the southeast of Scotland. So we cover Edinburgh, all the Lothians, Borders, Fife. We kind of dwindle out to Falkirk in the Lanarkshires. But yeah, we've got some Glasgow people in there too. We've got a loose border, shall we say. So yeah, anyone in that area, I can hook you into there.
Facebook is really the...
We've got a face. There's also a Scottish Home Educators.
Scottish Christian Home Educators
Facebook
group.
page. So you can join there, and then you can put a note out where is their groups.
There's also a Google Doc on there with a list of all the co-ops.
Yes, so if you get in there, search for home ed groups in your area, and you'll get a Google Doc that will hook you into other ones, because there's a Fife group, there's a Perthshire group, there's a Glasgow group, so there is others round about as well that kind of cross borders. If you're interested in the co-op, if the high school co-op in Falkirk, myself would be the person here that would be the contact. People like Shannon's in the co-op, Agnes is in the co-op, Leanne at the back, she's in that co-op as well, Liz is in the co-op, so there's a few of us here. If you're Glasgow, Liz or Miriam, if I've not mentioned your area, you still just give me your details, because I can find out where to filter
And
you
there's a
to.
holiday. There's a Christian Home Educators holiday, which has people from right as far as the Highlands and as down as low as the borders. So
Yeah.
not to be missed.
Just in 1 minute, what role are fathers playing in these groups, and how can we've got 3 young children? How can we? How can I, as a full-time worker, support my wife
Don't expect her to have the house tidy.
Be happy with random science experiments popping up in your kitchen. Rocks just. Like my husband, like he got up one morning and stubbed his toe on a bag of rocks, and he's like, "Why does that not even surprise me?" He's like, "I'm not even going to ask what that is on the kitchen table." Why have we got an egg sitting in vinegar on top of the piano? These sorts of things just they will become their normal life.
So much you could do.
Fathers are as involved as we've got varying degrees of involvement depending on availability and work. Like our home ed co-op, Leanne's husband he can't come now for kind of logistical problems, I think, or work problems, I can't remember which. But he was doing games in our co-op for last year. Lizzie's husband is currently doing boxercise with the kids, which is like a great hit with the boys, who I think may have been a bit fed up of Kelly dancing. And
Also to say, at least in our home, my husband's gifting, so different than mine, has been such a blessing when they've gotten older and they need to talk about hard things, or they need to learn logic, because that's not my thing. I didn't do that, but I'm all for logic. I'm in critical thinking and all those pieces. So God's given you specific gifts to use in your home as they're educated as well. Whether that's based on your profession or your vocation or your hobbies, or what God says, I want you to do this.
Or even just taking the children away
and giving,
for an hour when you come in.
I think we've maybe run out of time. Has anybody got any other quick question that might just that I could maybe point you into a direction where to get the answer from? No. So give Shannon your name and number and I'll get in contact with you. There is an embryonic, I can't even say that word, home ed conference being discussed and is formalising in my brain for maybe March next year. So that would be out on all different kind of social media type places. And so just get your details to me or Liz or Miriam and we'll hook you into the right place. Maybe as well as your name and number, just kind of regional where you live so that I know where to. And we've run over time, sorry.
Show your appreciation for Emma, Liz, Miriam and David.